right, guys, today we're going to do matrix multiplication. There's going to be two different parts of it. Let's stop and think about what we did for adding. All right, I got an example here where we're adding a couple of matrices. And if you check out this example right now, what I'm doing is I'm adding the same matrix to itself. All right, I'm doing 3, 1, 4, negative 2 plus 3, 1, 4, negative 2. All right, if I do that, I'm going to get 3 plus 3 in this spot. I got 6. I'm going to do 1 and 1 on that spot. I'm going to get 2. I'm going to do 4 and 4 in this spot. I got 8. And I got negative 2 plus negative 2, which is negative 4. All right, so that's a piece of cake. Now, repeated addition is really multiplication, right? So let's take about 2 seconds to think about whether or not I can just multiply something by this, like 2. If I want to double the value of a matrix, let's say it's 2 and we have 3, 5, 8, negative 7. So scalar multiplication is going to look something like this, where I am having a factor out front, and it kind of looks like distributive, where I am doubling everything in the matrix. All right, so if I double this, I would get for my answer 6 if I double 3, 16 if I double 8, 10 if I double my 5, and negative 14 down there. All right, so this is what we call scalar, S-C-A-L-A-R, scalar matrix multiplication. That's pretty easy. All right, now the harder stuff is going to come in right here. Let's look at what we were talking about with adding matrices. All right, I left this up from our last lesson, and what we decided that when we're adding, got to have the same dimensions. All right, so let's take the one that we've got right here, and if I look at it, what I've got is 2 rows here, 2 rows here. I've got 1, 2, 3 columns there. I've got 1, 2, 3 columns there. All right. Now, if I add a matrix that is 2 by 3 plus another 2 by 3, I get a matrix that's a 2 by 3. All right. What we found is that we cannot add if they are not the same. All right. Now, matrix multiplication is going to be a little bit different. Let's get rid of this. All right, so here we go. I've got this set up now, and it looks like a table. All right, matrices are nothing but tables. So let's say we took a little survey in the class of people who had pets, and we broke it down into girls and boys and which pets they had, and we're just looking at cats and dogs. All right, if we took a survey and we went around the room and we came up with something like this. Let's just make these up for numbers. Let's say that 3 boys have cats at home, 7 boys got dogs. 5 girls got cats, there's 6 dogs, all right? Now, let's say that we're also looking at the price of feeding our pets. Let's say that for cats it costs $3 a week to feed, and let's say for dogs it costs on average $4 a week to feed. We can use our matrices, and we're going to use a little bit of multiplication to find out how much it would cost to feed our dogs and our cats. All right. Now this one works. You'll notice that if I turn this into a matrix, I'm now multiplying the matrix 3, 7, 5, 6 times the matrix 3, 4. All right. All I've done is I've basically taken the lines from the table, eliminated them, put them into the matrix. All right. Now check this out. Here's how it's going to work. The top row, okay, right here, 3, 7, is going to get multiplied by this column. All right, 3 times 3 is the first thing I'm going to do. The second thing I'm going to do is the 7 times the 4. So I'm going to do 3 times 3, and I'm going to do 7 times 4. All right. Now what we're finding out is how much the boys on average are spending on their pet food. All right. The boys have to spend $3 for 3 cats. The boys also have to spend $4 for their 7 dogs. All right. 3 times 3 is going to be 9 plus my 28 for a grand total of $37. All right. Now, the girls, on the other hand, we're going to take the bottom for our girls and then multiply it by this same column. So I'm doing the row times the column. All right. Let's take the bottom row, 5 times 3. And I'm doing 6 times 4. I've got 15, I got 24, and I got a grand total of 39 for the girls. Now, all right, so if I work it all out, I've got the boys spending 37, the girls spending 39, but this is not really how it should look like in the end. When I'm multiplying a matrix times a matrix, I should get a matrix. Now, what is that matrix going to look like? All right, your product, right? The product, the answer to multiplication, your product is always going to be the number of rows from the first matrix, all right? And it's going to have the number of columns from your second matrix, all right? Now, our first matrix had 2 rows. Our second matrix has 1 column. So my answer is going to have 2 rows and 1 column. And my answer should look like 37, 39. Just like that. All right? So matrix multiplication, again, you are multiplying each row by the columns. Okay? How do you tell whether or not you can add or subtract? Got to have the same dimensions, right? A 2 by 3, you can only add it to a 2 by 3. Now multiplying is different. The number of rows from the first matrix has got to match up with the number of columns from that second matrix. If that is not happening, you cannot multiply them. All right, let's try this one on for size now. We've got a matrix right here. I've got 1, 2, 3 rows by 2 columns, and I'm multiplying it by a 2 by 2. So the first question is, can we do it? The way we check it out is the number of rows in this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the number of rows of the first has to equal the number of columns in the second. All right, and this one I've got 2 columns. This right here gets the good old undefined. All right, not possible. Number of rows got to match up with number of columns. Let's try one that we can do. All right, guys, here we go. This one's pretty tricky. This is, if you can follow this one, you got it down. All right, so first thing is, can we do it? I've got 1, 2, 3 rows in my first. I've got 1, 2, 3 columns in my second. So my rows equals my columns, so I can do it. Now, how do I actually do it? All right, well, we're going to match it up. Got the first row up top is going to get multiplied by the first column. So remember, I'm going to do the 2 times the 6 and then the 5 times the 1. All right? Now, let's ask ourselves what the answer is going to look like. Remember, the answer is going to be the same number of, we got the rows by the columns. So my first one has 3 rows. My second one has 3 columns. My answer is going to be 3 by 3. All right. Now, where do those numbers come from, you might ask yourself? Let's check it out. This first location, 1, 1, up in the top corner is going to be 1 and 1. So I'm going to do my 2 times 6, and I'm going to do 5 times 1. All right. That's 12. That's 5. So this is 17. So I've got 17 up here. All right. Now, I'm going to take my top row and multiply it by my second column now. All right, so now I'm going to take 2, 5. All right, let's take 2, 5, and now multiply it by the second. So I got 2 times 2, and I got 5 times 5. I've got 4. I got 25. I've got 29 right there. All right, so my top entry up here is 29. All right, now I still have one more set for this top row. All right, last thing I got to do for my top row is going to match it up with my far column. So I'm doing 2, 5 now times 3, 1. All right, so I'm going to do the 2 times the 3, and I'm going to do the 5 times that -1. I got 6. I got -5. I've got 1. All right, so you've got your top row. How did we get the top row? I did the top row times each column. All right, now what comes next? We're going to take our second row here and do the same thing. Multiply it by the first column, then the second column, then the third column. So let's do that right now. The 9 and the -1. So first thing I'm going to do is match that up with my 6 and my 1. All right, so let's do that. I'm going to do 9 times 6. Right, I'm doing 9 times 6, and I'm doing -1 times 1. 9 times 6 is 54. That's -1. I get a total of 55. All right, now I have to take my second times my second. So I've got 9 times 2 is 18. And I've got -1 times 5. That's -5. So that's 13 right here. All right, now I'm going to take my second row times the far column, the 9 times the 3. That's 27. And then I'm going to do the -1 times the -1. That's 1. Gives me a total of 28. All right, same thing now for my bottom row. Bottom row times the first column. I got 36. I got 0. That's 36. All right, bottom times the second column. I got 6 times 2 is 12. And 0 times 5. The nice thing about having a 0 in there, it's all going to be zeros. 6 times 3 is 18. 0 times, that's 0. And 18 plus 0, there you go, for your 18. Okay, so there it is. That's matrix multiplication in a nutshell. A little bit confusing. Try the practice problems on Khan Academy. Anybody needs to reach out to me, please do so. Give it a shot. Rock out.